Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwartner, and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today, we have the great pleasure of meeting with Manny Medina. He's the legend and the CEO of Outreach. Hi, Manny.
Hi, Gerhard. Good to see you.
You learned it in an East German school, right?
The German government sponsors a number of schools of Germany abroad called Humboldt-Schule. It's a system in every large city in Latin America.
Right.
So I went to the one in Ecuador. I'm from Ecuador, and I went to the Humboldt-Schule of Guayaquil, the city there.
And your career began with raising shrimp, and then you were raising unicorns.
My aunt had a shrimp farm, and my parents would ship me off to her house to be useful during the summer, and that's how I ended up mostly feeding and harvesting. Those were the two hard jobs.
I find your story really fascinating because you had what I would call a disappointing experience early in your life.
Yep.
And once you know how to manage disappointment as a child, the disappointments as an adult in business are not going to faze you anymore.
You're absolutely right. And I think that that's actually my superpower, is that whatever I'm going through is not as bad as the shit I've already gone through.
But I think you have another superpower, which is you speak 3 languages, and you're able to process problems and challenges from 3 different perspectives.
You're growing up in Austria, and it's very similar schooling in Germany. It's very practical. They really help you to go out in the world and do something useful.
Yeah.
And that really instilled in me. Even raising my own kids in the U.S. system. I told them to sort of first think about how can you be useful to somebody else, and then think about what makes you happy, in that order, because then you'll find true fulfillment. The German school that I had, the same professor, the same teacher that was teaching math would also teach physical education. You see what I mean? So you didn't have these constructs of the math teacher is so and the chemistry teacher is so and so. They will have 2 subjects.
Yeah.
And because he was so kinetic and so strong, and so I almost learned math forcefully, but I also learned to be very exact in playing sports. You know what I mean? Because he was the same guy.
But I think it serves as an interesting model, because the American system has more and more generalists. I mean, specialists. But I think there's another thing, that you have a background in engineering, and you also have a Harvard MBA. So you understand the world of technology, you understand the world of business. And all the successful people that I've ever interviewed, they usually have 2 degrees.
I think I got my MBA because I was not the brightest programmer. So I figured I have to do something else.
Right.
It's incredibly useful. And I was surprised how incredibly important it is to express yourself correctly, as an entrepreneur, and then as a leader. Now that it's more of a leadership position, language becomes more important. People hang on to everything that you say. So you have to really be careful and precise.
So let's talk about how you lead a diverse team. So first of all, you embrace diversity because you have a diversity background, and you come from a very diverse culture. And you understand communism and capitalism and the generational differences. So what is your view on diversity, and how does it help increase sales?
I fundamentally believe that you have to some degree, resemble who you're selling to. And you have to, figure out what their aspirations and motivations are, and make sure that you embody and reflect those to them. As millennials are taking over the workforce, not in very large numbers, very, very quickly, they see themselves as a more diverse generation. And the generation that is coming right after, the Zoomers, see themselves even as a more embracing and more diverse and more inclusive. So if we don't reflect those values back to our customers and potential buyers, there's going to be a disconnect. They're going to feel that we're not the right partner for them for some other reason that had nothing to do with your product or your salesmanship, but rather your value alignment. The second thing that I fundamentally believe is that we started Outreach with sort of 2 types of people. So my co-founders, all 3 of them are 10 years younger than me. They're all from the Pacific Northwest, and they're all white. And the fact that they came in through other walks of life, that it were different than mine, and I was older and came, and an immigrant, made the whole stew significantly richer. Because all the other stuff in tech is true. You have to work long nights. You have to work every day. You have to work harder than the next person to beat, and you have to be technically astute and hustle. Like all that thing doesn't go away. But if you set the tone really early of the types of people who are going to go and deliver that for you, meaning a diverse group, then you can build a very big company with a diverse team that is also high performing.
So let's shift to the challenge of performance, especially in a economy that becomes more uncertain, where we have inflation, we have a crazy world to deal with.
Yeah.
What is your advice to sales leaders on how to approach the new market?
The first thing that every leader needs to do is to get a hold of their own mind and their own psyche and their own energy, and make sure that they are in a calm and collected state to be able to not only project calmness and collectedness, but also to inspire teams to navigate through this. Their faces and their words will be amplified. So they need to, first of all, make sure that they can control what they can control, and they remain calm through the storm. Second of all, everything has a silver lining, even during COVID. Some people were buying, some people were going out of business, some people were staying steady. The trick is to find who's buying. And then and that will deliver your growth. The next trick was to find who you can help now, so that they can be the engine of growth post this recession or pandemic or whatever have you. And then the third was to show empathy and do as much as you can to help those that were really struggling, because they will remember that you did that. That will be the third wave that come back after everything comes back. You have to learn to communicate that facts to your sellers, and your sellers need to be able to communicate that facts to their own customers and their own prospects, because those who radiate energy and inspiration and sort of a better future are the ones who are going to stick around to see the transaction go through.
So tell me about your first sale.
My first set of users were reps in I forget whether it was Zenefits or App Dynamics, one of those two. I don't quite. They're both transactions happening around the same. And I would call every rep. I would call every manager. I will ask the rep after I made the sale, how you liking the product, and they can introduce me to their manager. And if they like the product, they will introduce me to the manager. If they introduce me to the manager, then they will let me navigate through it. And I was seeing other companies making a little mistake. And this is very common right now in product-led growth, which is the hot thing in the news, of like, oh, you got to let it try it. You got to let everyone try it. There was another competitor at the time, Yesware, that was for free. So they can get it, and then you can sit down and try it and use it for free. And I would get the pushback from the rep saying, hey, why can't I just try it? And I made it very clear that I will let you, by you putting down a credit card and using the product, you are trying it. You can cancel at any time. But at least I'm getting paid for the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it is a transaction. I did a bunch of work for you. You're about to get value from it. If you don't, you can cancel, but at least I got paid for the work. And later on, when I became friends with the VP of Sales, I realized that putting somebody on a free trial is not all wins, because that person will always ask for more free,
right?
For more free value for that person to make an intro upstairs. Whereas I never had that problem, because the moment you showed up, you were paid. So I got the same PLG motion. It was a little more manual because it was me, Manny, doing the selling, but I got paid for every single use out of outreach, and then that propelled us to make sure that we retain those customers.
So was there a time in the early days where you thought this is never going to work?
Your job as a leader, as a merchant of hope, is to inspire everyone that if, as long as you keep your head down and chop wood and carry wood and acquire a customer or acquire a rep and make that rep successful, and then to do 2 more tomorrow, and then 5 more tomorrow, and then 10 more tomorrow, then we're going to dig ourselves out of it. And that's how we kept all 4 of us, that voices in our head, quiet. That's going to fail, because failure is always a whisper away, from where you are. Salesforce will come out with something, or there's competitor X who just got funded. There's competitor Y who's much bigger than you. Nobody has ever succeeded. Startup has a 99% chance of failure. Seattle back then was not a big sales town. So who are you, and why are you making this product? No VC will touch us because we're a pivot. So there's all this noise that is negativity that you have around. As long as you concentrate on acquiring a customer and making the customer successful, then it dies.
It makes a lot of sense. Instead of focusing on the fear of failure inside your head, you externalize it and focus on the customer success.
That's exactly right. And so we got really good at calling people and talking shop. Eventually we develop a rubric of all of the different pains a rep or a manager at an organization would have. And we develop a hypothesis, and we will call in with a hypothesis. We will say, do you have enough pipeline to close the score? And if they say yes, or they say, no, that's not my problem. My problem is next quarter. Boom. I got a problem for which I got a solution. Immediately identify that we can talk about. And then the remaining 30 minutes of the conversation is talking shop. How do you generate pipeline? What activities do you think? Is that activity effective? Make it marketing. All of a sudden, you're talking shop, and the end of talking shop, and you say, "Yeah, let me buy your product."
So, what is your advice for sales leaders? Everybody knows that the 80-20 rule, that 20% of the salespeople sell 80% of the sales volume. How can you increase it from 20 to 30, or from 20 to 40%?
So the first thing you do is you have to drop your playbook and go ask your top sellers, what are they doing to drive that 80% of the number? And then use the next 10%, the hungry ones, right? The 20% that is driving 80% has a tail of 10% or 20% that want to be that 20%, but they're not. Use that as a training, as a testing ground to see if this is really scalable, and then try it again.
You think there are 12 or 13 million customers out there for outreach. How do you see outreach 5 years from now?
The number that I chase is there's 30 million B2B reps in the world. There's 15 or so million accounts, or 10 million accounts, give or take. But I'm really inspired. What gets me out of every morning is to make sure that every single one of those 30 million reps are achieving their full potential. They are making more money. They're driving a bigger pipeline. They're closing deals more efficiently. They're going home earlier. But whatever that is that they want to do, that they can do it on the back of sales, and the sales profession becomes we can bring it back to being a vibrant place that is inclusive and everybody can make money. So that's really what drives me. So in 5 years, we put a huge dent into that number. Right now, we have 200,000 users in the platform right now, out of the 30 million. So we're less than 5% penetrated. So right. We need to do 1 million even. You know what I mean? To make a significant dent in the world. And so the way that we get there is making sure that, first of all, are the reps ready? So some of reps are not ready to embrace automation and AI and workflow. So we have to either educate them, or just wait for the new generation that are digital natives to come in and sort of help them. And then sort of see if the rep is ready and the organization is ready, meaning is the organization really looking to move to the next gear of growth, then are we ready to catch them and sort of bring them into the journey?
I think what I like about most in this conversation is that I get a sense that you are a purpose-driven leader that leads a purpose-driven company, and the purpose is to help professionalize sales all over the world.
That's exactly right.
How can people learn more about outreach? Go to your website?
Go to my website, go to outreach.io, go to my LinkedIn, go to my team's LinkedIn. They all have great content. They're putting out their thoughts. We're a fairly open company where we have an open policy where you can just build your own voice and your own profile. And a lot of people at Outreach do that. So you just go read our content, engage, learn.